so I want to talk about kind of like why we're here and why this is pressing. There have been like situations between Angela and I, like, for example, we had a call with Erica and we talked about different hiring issues, and we're noticing like different trends, both of us, and how we both have the privilege of dealing with entrepreneurs in all different stages. And so there is a mindset that's prevalent. Two different ones actually I could probably talk about, but we see like trends. And then there's also this post I'm going to share with you guys in a second of just this lost mentality of like, do I need someone? Don't I need someone? Also this mentality of like wanting to throw money at problems and throwing people at problems, which, you know, has some different ups and downs, but we're going to talk about it today. But I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about like what has been happening. So like Natalie, I know Kelly wants to hire someone. Surprisingly, she said social media, but I would think video editor. If I was to say someone that you really do need to hire, that's an actual need. So interesting there, but we'll talk about that. And I think you'll get a lot of clarity in this conversation. And then I'm going to share this post that Lexi actually found on social media. Just in the overall essence of it is just lost, right? This person was on Facebook in a Facebook group kind of asking for advice. Feel free to read it. I'm just going to kind of give the high level. And this is kind of the essence of why we are here today, to help you guys figure out what you need and if you have a need, because not always is it people. So we're going to talk about like some different tips and things that we're seeing in just a second. But this is kind of the overall, like, if you look at what this person is saying, she's saying like, I could need someone to handle my company website, SEO, social media management, optimization, a new blog post. And she's thinking it's one person, and not understand that this is different skill sets, but also it's clear that she just needs more direction than anything, because how could you possibly need all of this stuff? You know, like usually you need like a particular skill set to achieve a goal, which we'll talk about again. But this is the overall essence. We're seeing people just lost. And so what we wanted to do is just tag team within our own little community, give you guys the opportunity to ask questions. And yeah, with that being said, Angela, do you want to go into the tips? And because I know one of yours is kind of like how to know when to hire. And I know that's the first thing we want to talk about today. But if you want to just go ahead and take that one, and then we can kind of open it up after.
Okay. So I'm sure some of you remember that Instagram meme with the guy's voice. How will they know? How will they know, right? How will you know that you need someone? Because many times we get overwhelmed, and the first thing, like Chryssy said, is we start throwing people or money at the situation. We get overwhelmed because we don't have a whole lot of, we don't have a lot of time. Our time, there's a time suck. And the first thing you need to do is assess your situation. The most important thing as you're assessing your situation is to understand your business. Do you really understand your business? And I have discovered that many biz newbies don't. They understand the product possibly, or even the service, but they don't understand the business. And that's typically when we get lost. So take a look at your business. Do you understand it? Separate each part of your business and look at where you're really struggling at. Chryssy mentioned something that I have on my list: what you feel versus your actual need, your nice to have versus what you actually need. Because again, when we're operating in the overwhelm, it's hard to be clear. We just start grasping at things. So that's important, and you want to look at where your time goes. I think I mentioned that already. Again, how will you know? You have to ask yourself the hard questions. Are you turning down work? Is the quality suffering? Are your are your customers suffering? Do you have time to handle the admin stuff? So yes, if you're a product based, yes, you're involved in creating and delivering the product, but how are you handling your bookkeeping? How are you handling follow-up with clients or customers? How are you managing and tracking your inventory? All that good stuff. So do you not have enough time to do that? The other thing, are you learning a whole new skill set, video editing, just to be able to run the business? That's a problem. So those are the things you need to look at. Yeah. Anything else?
I would just add that, like, especially when it comes to like learning a new skill set, I would say, even if, because there is a level of, and that was actually like one of my tips, is like there is a level of like you knowing enough to know the right questions to hire the right person. So there is a level, like, for example, Kelly's doing, we just keep picking on you, Kelly, but Kelly's doing her own videos. And through that creative process of her at least trying a few, right? She's one, now knows that it's a need, right? I don't want to do this anymore. This is not fun to me. And then two, she can instruct someone a little bit better, where very often, especially being a creative and running a creative agency, people come to me and have no idea, haven't even touched it. And so at least if you try a little bit, like, don't try to become a video editor to run your business, but like at least have some idea of what it is that you're looking for and like the goals of your project, kind of hitting on my first point. Understand what you're actually looking for before you go to get anyone. And I do want to say that, just generally speaking, guys, we're talking about employers, or I'm sorry, employees, contractors, all of it, even if bartering, right? If you need to barter with someone, that's still something you have to be really clear, even a partnership, right? So Rhonda, you've already had to hire someone in your company. I think you guys are making the assumption that we're talking about like your first dedicated person, but we hire for projects all the time. It's a small thing here, a small thing there. And so when you hire for something, you have to do your own due diligence of understanding what your goal is. Like, if you don't know, then you're going to waste a lot of money with the wrong people on the wrong projects.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll piggyback. I'll circle back.
No, go ahead.
So in my practice, big on that. That is, Chryssy actually hit on a big part of what I meant when I said understanding your business.
Mhm.
I'm big on that. And it's not just about knowing your numbers, it's about knowing what it takes to run the business. Kelly, again, picking on Kelly, that video editing is key to running your business, right? So just like what Chryssy said, you've at least attempted it. And I believe that other than what I call the hard skill sets, what I call the tangibles, the things you can touch, and that generate money for you, like your money man, or woman, your bookkeeper, your accountant, your web person, your maybe, or your salesperson. Those are hard skills. Those are tangible skills. And really, I talk about this a little bit when we discuss the job description piece, so I'll press pause on that. But I just wanted to piggyback off of Chryssy, because that is important, and that is what I meant when I said understand your business.
And even too, like, this is not one of my points, but you kind of recalled my memory, which is just like operating in your strengths. Do what you're good at and hire people in your weaknesses, but still educate yourself of what does success look like for whatever that is. Right. So Danielle, do you mind unmuting and let me know like what you're thinking you need, as far as like, so we can stop picking on Kelly?
Not a problem. I'm here just trying to scarf down lunch.
Okay.
So for me, it's admin support, project assistant type of person. And I have someone who I brought in on a trial basis about 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. She's doing really well, but we haven't made it official yet.
Gotcha. So I'm sure there'll be questions with that. So this would be perfect. We have lots of time for questions. My final two tips I wanted to add is kind of along the lines with like the goals and what you're actually looking for. Have a way of measuring success along the way. Gabby, I don't think you're looking for anyone. I don't want to ignore you. You're on this side of my screen, so I missed you.
No, not at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's still helpful knowledge, right? So,
Yeah.
but what was I saying? Oh, how you will measure success. So let's say, for example, you want to hire that social media manager, and in your mind, you're like, I just want to build my audience. I want more followers. But let's just say your business goal is to get more clients. And deep down, there's a piece of you that thinks like, oh, more followers equal more, potential clients, which could be somewhat true. Like if you have a good sales process and following up, sure. But it's important that you understand, like if you are hiring, Gabby and I just actually had a call today. And this is like a perfect like segue into this conversation. Gabby and I basically watched, well, I actually broke the heart, but Gabby watched me break a man's heart today. Essentially, what has happened is he's at that place in his business where he's invested a whole lot into his brand. He looks good. He looks the part. He's got some great social media graphics. He's got a good website, like, very minimal things. Like there's nothing wrong. He's got a solid brand, solid logo, all that stuff, but nothing's working. And so unfortunately, his mindset is nothing's working. I need to do it all over. I need to start over. I need to start fresh. And he's trying to look for a logo, and was it just like a new name and a logo? And so unfortunately, I had to be the one to come on a call and tell him none of that is his problem. And what's actually his problem is that he's just not showing up in his business. And so this kind of hints at like the whole need, the urgency around this workshop is that a lot of you, when you hit a wall, you're like, I need help. Like in that moment, I would seek guidance and direction from someone or people in the group. All right, you have access to a community where you can do so, but don't just be like, oh, Fiverr.com, hire person, because not everybody is as good as me. What I mean by that is like honest and integrity, right? Because someone else will be like, yeah, let's rebrand that logo and it's going to be $4,000 and this is what it's going to take, knowing damn well it's not going to do anything. I literally, Gabby, correct me if I'm wrong, I literally was like, if you decide to purchase your logo and update your logo and your rename your business and it works for some odd reason, I will reimburse you. That's how certain I am. I'm willing to pay for this man's stuff because I know if he does exactly what he does today, he's going to get the same results. So not everyone is like me. And there are a lot of people in my industry, especially with new businesses, that are like, you got to be careful too with the virtual assistant stuff too. There's a lot of people out here thinking that they're virtual assistants or even just assistants in general, and they are not. There's just a surplus of online business. And so I want to do what I can to protect the people in my community and my network. And so this is kind of hints where this, workshop is coming from. So knowing how you're going to measure success, like being real about what that goal is. Like if you are not consistently getting income in your business and deep down that's the goal, and you're hiring for something else, be real with yourself, because you're just going to end up with a project that you spent a lot of money on that doesn't hit your results. And to be fair, upset with the subcontractor, right? The person that did the work. And it's not really their fault to a degree because they gave you what you asked for. Not everyone's going to be as honest as me, because I understand what it's like to be a business owner and getting started. So which brings me to my final point, is have a clear understanding of like what return looks like for this particular person. This is if they're working part-time on a regular schedule. If they are doing just a project, what does that return look like? And it doesn't have to be like dollars in the bank, but it could be time saved, money saved, right? Like for example, Kelly, again, spending hours on those videos, pushing our project back. Spending hours on that video, baby, finding someone to just get it done and get it done to the perfection that she wanted it done could have been a better investment. We never know, but it's for you as an entrepreneur to weigh those numbers and make that decision. Okay, so Angela, go ahead, Kelly.
The hard part I found too is how to find people. Like I found you randomly because I was like, I don't know, let me try asking Wix if they have someone who can help me with my website, because I went on Facebook and asked people. I went on like other things, and there was just like, how do I find someone? I feel like I got really lucky finding you for my website. Like I truly feel really lucky because like I looked for, I think like be like 4 months for someone to help me. And I just didn't know where to look. I didn't know who was actually going to help me. Because most people like told me, no, you can't do the thing you want to do. But you told me you could probably do the thing you want to do, but here's a better way of doing it. And that was why I hired you. But
Yeah.
finding people, I feel like is my biggest struggle. Like,
Yeah.
how do I find someone to edit my videos?
Right. Do you mean platform wise? Like you're asking and no one's applying?
Yeah, I put out, I haven't looked for a video person yet, but yeah, I put out like all these feelers to find people to help me with my website. And I think I was looking in the wrong spots, for sure. But yeah, I just couldn't find someone, or kept getting ghosted, and stuff. They just told me no.
Angela?
Perfect segue into my last little part, which is job descriptions. So it's important to be clear about what you need and then be able to communicate that clearly. That's important. And then there's a way, especially now, there's a way to write job descriptions, contractor or employee, because it's gotten more competitive now. You used to just slap some stuff, some bullet points up and stick it up on monster.com and keep it moving. Now you got to be a little creative. People want more information from you, right? I'm a solopreneur looking for, whose business is growing, and I need a team member to, you want to, just like with social media, share some of your story. And then you want to invite them. Don't you want to come be a part of this? Don't you want to come help me grow? Let's grow together. Or there's just so many different ways you can do that. So that's important. But still, being clear about what it is that you really need, and then being able to effectively communicate that. And then communicate that in a creative way as well. So there's that. The other thing is, well, Chryssy kind of touched upon that, understanding each step in the process. Chryssy, like me, we're big on the process of how you do things. Call them SOPs, policies and your procedures. But for that position that you think you need, like I'm gonna pick on Danielle a little bit. You have an admin position. Are you clear about the context of this admin position? What are the parameters? What are their responsibilities, right? At what point are they going to come and bug you about something, right? What if there's a problem? If and when? How are you guys going to communicate? How are you going to manage that? Because the bottom line is you're still the boss. People get caught up with contractor versus employee. And for some reason, that employee mindset triggers something different. Well, that's my employee. I'm the boss. It's no different than if they were a contractor. You're still paying them, right? You're still paying them to help you do whatever you need to do, just like an employee. Okay? So you want to be clear. What are your boundaries? How are you communicating? What do you do when if and when there's a problem? Right? So there's that. The other thing, understanding the difference between a contractor versus an employee. That's important because the IRS is the entity that determines whether you are hiring a contractor versus an employee. That's why your job description is important, and a work agreement. And the IRS comes in and says, no, that's an employee. And then you're in trouble because you weren't preparing to have an employee, right? And the things that they base that on are just how much control does that contractor have over what they do, right? Are you like outlining, I want you to do it, do it this way, do it within a certain time, on certain days within certain parameters. So that's an employee. So think of like when you go to work every day, you have to be there between 9 and 5, and you have a set role of responsibilities that don't vary too much, right? So there's that. Whereas a contractor, or a 1099, yes, you're giving them a set list of responsibilities or duties, but they've got to have some agency over what they do and over how they do it, when they do it, all of that good stuff. The other thing is employment agreements. Whether you're hiring as an employee, or whether you're hiring an employee or a 1099, I recommend employment agreements, particularly if you're hiring a contractor. Think about it. What information do they have access to? Okay. Again, what happens if the relationship goes south, or you realize 3 weeks in, 2 months in, that it's just not it's just ain't working, right? How are you going to terminate that relationship? How are you going to be clear about the access that they have, how to give it back, all that? And that seems like a lot, but we tend to overthink things and make things more complicated than what they are. But employment agreements are important, and they don't have to be complicated at all. Okay? All right. That's what I wanted to mention.
So Danielle, I saw you kind of like pondering a little bit when she was talking about like the schedule piece. And I know it's very common, at least I know with my experience of my clients who are like hiring people, that they give like a schedule, like expect you to be here and, you know, clock in, clock out type of thing. I'm not saying that you are, but I know that that's like a common thing that we do, but it could look as simple as like, this is what I need you to do for the week, and you get it done. Right. So if you have a weekly, for example, I have a weekly checklist for all of my, let's say, retainer members who work with me on a weekly, daily, monthly, whatever basis, they're expected to get those things done, you know, by the end of the week, and they have due dates. But how they get it done, how quickly, how, you know, if they want to get it done all in one day, they go right ahead and do that. And that's where the flexibility piece comes in. Because I know when I was first learning about like employee versus contractor, I was like, but then how do they get the work done if I don't tell them? You know what I'm saying? And even with Gabby, for example, so like we have, of course, it's almost been a year now. So we've developed like a good working relationship where I give her feedback, but she's working in like this calendar blocking system and just becoming a whole miniature version of me. It's really interesting to watch. And even with that, like, I'm not ever saying I can make suggestions, but I can't tell you what to do. You know, if I start telling you, okay, you do Kolor Addikt work between this time, and that is all you can do during that time, then now I like to think of it like a plumber. You know, you expect your plumber to be there when he says he's going to be there. So you expect him to show up, but you don't, like, if for some reason he, you know, has the flexibility or to change the schedule around something, it's not like, as long as he gets the job done is what you care about. But honoring commitments is different.
Essentially, yes. Essentially. So the key is, and you touched on this, Chryssy, and this is the litmus or the, you know, the test that the IRS uses. How much autonomy and flexibility does that contractor have? So it's, you know, it's really just that. It essentially boils down to that. Okay.
Yeah, and like how they work specifically. Right? Okay. So we are like a few minutes over. Was there anything else you want to add before we head into the segment? I think we already talked about like hiring steps. I don't know if we mentioned hire slow and fire fast. Don't trust me, from my experience.
Yes.
This is still a very trauma-centered thing. I have a tendency to be very invested in my team and the people around me. I mean, you guys know I follow up with each and everyone, even if you're a client, you're a team, a partner, doesn't matter. I'm very invested in my people. And so with team, it's a very interesting dynamic. You guys gotta understand, we talk all the time. Like Gabby probably talks to me more than my mom does. And so when things go sour, it's sometimes hard to take a step back and disconnect. And if you're not in this predicament, then that's perfectly fine. But just some advice for you as someone who struggles with that literally recently, you have to develop tools and systems to keep you from being a person, right? Like being a human being with feelings, and instead looking at things like at face value. Like when challenges are happening, you have to kind of document them. You guys remember like working in like corporate and there's HR and they're like, we're going to document this. And there was like this thread, or maybe not a thread, but somewhere where you could see that you were on the struggle bus. You need to create that same visibility, employee or contractor, for multiple reasons. Like for example, on my team, we do weekly one-on-ones, where I could exchange feedback, and that's documented in my own like system. I also just recently released a performance-based pay system. I've done things where like if we have like performance discussions, I have them recap the conversation and send it to me in an email to kind of document that we had this discussion. But you have to figure out ways to, because you're gonna love the people. Like people are amazing. I mean, they just really are. Like there's some really great people out here. But at the end of the day, when it doesn't work out, it has nothing to do with them. It's just, not a good fit. And so you have to figure out a way to get out of your feels, okay? Because sometimes as a small business owner, you do not have the same flexibility or budget that Walmart has to play around with people who are not performing.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, you can have your feels, but you've got to be clear that this is your business, and that's the bottom line. And even with having your feelings, it is business, not personal. And I always go back and forth about that, because when you have a team and you get connected, and I'll use Chryssy, there are feelings involved, and there has to be, to create great work. There has to be this symbiotic, this vibe. I'm sure Chryssy, you and Gabby have this vibe. I sometimes see it like when I'm logging in and you guys are wrapping up your meeting. There's a vibe you guys have, and you'll develop that. And even if if the person ultimately at some point needs to leave, or over time you begin to realize something's going on and they're not a good fit, it's that's not personal. You can still love them more than your luggage, but it's about the work. So,
and also just the last point before we get into the questions, but like the last point that I realized as like a small business owner is the culture. I feel like no one talks about culture. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Gabby would agree, and I'm just picking on her because she's the only one that works for me like here right now. But there's a culture of working at Kolor Addikts, and it is different. My leadership style, my expectations from my team. We just literally had a quarterly team huddle yesterday, where I was reinforcing the culture and what it means to work here, and what it means to I don't want to say be a Kolor Addikt because that's so like lame, but you know what I mean. There's a culture, and you have to either fall in line with that naturally, right? Like I don't want to force anybody to do anything. If that's not part of who you are, then you're just not a fit. But you have to either, operate there, or you don't. And it's that simple. I don't hear a lot of small business. I don't know, Angela, about you, but I don't hear a lot of small businesses talking about culture.
They don't. And it's interesting. This, again, another example why we are the same person. I do talk about that a lot. I don't necessarily think I've had the conversation with you. If we have, it's been low key, because your culture is very clear. Right. And you can pick up on small businesses cultures, particularly when you're small, because you are your business. So how you are is your business, ergo your business culture. So if and typically how you are outside of your business is how you are inside of your business.
Right.
There's a small percentage of people who are night and day, or not even extreme opposites, but disparate. You know, they're super organized in their business and a hot mess in their personal life. No, no. I mean, that exists,
Yeah.
but it's few and far between. So in terms of culture, I ask my clients to be mindful of it, because particularly as the owner, you're just being yourself. You're bringing yourself to work. You're
Exactly.
bringing yourself to your business and all that is, right? The culture in my office, I love food. My father and I, we both love food. We both love music. So there is always food and there is always music going in the office, and we do things around that. Because that's who I am, and that's who my dad is. There's always something funny going on because my dad is a character. That's the culture. You gotta, if you're gonna work with us, you gotta learn how to deal with him. So you are, as a small business owner, your culture. So be mindful of that. If you hear someone in your personal life pointing out certain issues, you don't listen, you talk too much, or you can be funky. You're probably doing that in your business.
Exactly.
And maybe that's why employees don't stay, or maybe that's why that contractor left or popped off on you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just being who you are. And sometimes you have to mute certain aspects of who you are. So be mindful of that.
So with that being said, I do want to leave some time for questions. Even if you're not hiring at this very moment, like what are some concerns you have? How can we better support you and what you're looking for? This is something that I see, especially in my industry, guys. Like Danielle knows, like she was one of the ones that came to me trying to do some work, and I was like, no. So like I am the industry that I feel like gets hit the most. Like Gabby and I were literally talking about in our sales process how we can start qualifying people a little bit better because we get so much of it.
You guys are low-hanging fruit.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, you guys are the I don't want to use that word. That would not be appropriate. The lady on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
The who likes to walk the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are easy.
Look at Danielle.
Y'all are easy. No, what I mean, the connection is low-hanging fruit. They're easy. When you start a business, the first thing you think about is what?
So I want to
Exactly. It doesn't mean that I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to expand on that real quick, because what it is not that because we're actually, to do it right, it's actually quite expensive, to be perfectly
Well,
honest.
no. I'm not
No.
knocking
No, I just want to.
I'm doing the business owner mentality.
No, I got you. But why they think this is because what we experience of successful business is the brand. We
Right.
experience the logo. We visually see the logo. We visually see the website. We visually see. What we don't see is the salespeople hustling. What we don't see is that manager on the sales floor, like, get these leads in. We don't see that. And so those are the things that we sleep on. And so what we experience as a consumer is
what
everything I
to run
do.
the business.
And so that's why when people are like, I'm going to start a business, they're like, logo. Well, let me look like one. I call it playing business. Like when you played doctor as a kid, you had a little stethoscope on. You were not a doctor.
Yes.
You were not. You cannot heal anyone. That was a play get up. That was not the real thing. Gabby,
so many people don't realize
they just, the amount of the like things I see going through like Upwork, or just going through like looking for different leads and stuff. And when I'm looking at like branding ones, for example, the amount of things I see, it's literally like I'm about to start an LLC, or like I'm about to start a new business and I want a logo, a website, social media, and they are listing these things, and the first line is like, I'm about to start a business. and they listen, and I'm like,
Unfortunately, too, there's a lot of blog articles that say, I've done my research. I know why people come to me. I know why they come in my office. I get it. I call this my virtual office. But that's why the best I can do, that's why I'm on podcasts once a week, right? That's why I have this impact goals, because I'm trying to get ahead of these internet gurus and just freelancers just trying to make their own little piece of pie, just taking advantage of people who have a dream. Like it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, Chryssy and I are similar in that. I tell people all the time, unfortunately, that they don't have a business, or that that business idea that they're trying to shoehorn in is not a long-term viable business. And they've created all of this around that idea. And told someone Monday, they keep coming to us with all these great ideas. You know, they get great ideas, and then they want to set up an LLC. Great idea, set up an like. And I'm like, you know, you might be someone who's the idea generator, and you just sell that idea.
Yes, that's a thing.
Because he's not a business. As sweet as he is, and as brilliant as he is, you know, but there are people who, no, I need to start. No, I need to start a business. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Or having to tell clients at year 3, you know, they've been operating at a loss for the 3rd or 4th year, that they don't have a business either. You know, but yeah, it's a hard conversation that I think Chryssy and I both have gotten good at having. But, you know, yeah, yeah. I see it all the time.
So did you guys have any questions for us? Not trying to force anything, but I just like to do what I can to get the information out. I will share this with everyone who registered for it. I couldn't make it, but yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
Do you have like examples of a good job description?
I'm sure Angela does. I would call mine good.
Sorry. I had to pop a piece of chicken in my mouth so I can take my meds. I do. I can send you a really nice framework with some steps and some questions for you to go through to help you narrow it down. For anybody who's looking to hire, even a 1099 employment agreement, get their I-9 information. And the reason why is not just so you can pay them, but if, God forbid,
this information was still very useful, even though I'm not looking to hire.
Very good. Good, Shannon. Nice to see you in the room. Welcome. Shannon's also a new member, so welcome, Shannon.
For the employment agreement, so like right now I work as what I was classifying as an independent contractor, and I send them invoices and then they pay me and then I pay my taxes. I'm not a 1099 because they don't send me a 1099. So what would I be classified as?
you are, so that's fine. I'm using employment agreement as a, you know, we're sort of talking hiring, so that's the lingo I'm using. But it's essentially a work agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, so Kelly, you're talking about with your custom clients?
Yeah.
So if they chose to give, like, for me, the work agreements work as like for example, Gabby could easily have a contract with me, but because she doesn't have one, I want to set the expectations. One of us has to, and at the end of the day, I feel like as long as both parties come to an alignment, that's all that matters. And so if your client isn't requiring it, great, but your contract or proposal should at least say some details to a working agreement. So like, for example, I'm a contractor, right? My clients, you, for example, can issue me a 1099 because I've done work for you and you've hired me as a contractor. And some of my clients do, actually. They actually do give me contract, or the, what's the form name? What were you gonna say, Angela?
I want to be clear what components. I wasn't clear that I thought she was talking about,
For her, yeah.
right, for her business, not so much with clients, but they're in a way one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Chryssy said you got to be clear about your terms
Mm-hmm.
and expectations, the money, when and how it's paid, when and how the work is done, and how to end.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, the here for art to were there herewith shall be known as. You don't need all of that. You
Yeah.
really don't. And Chrissy's right. As long as you guys come into an alignment and can put that alignment on paper, and you both agree to that alignment and maybe get it notarized, then you guys are cool. It doesn't have to be complicated, and you can be very casual about it.
Yeah. I've heard lawyers say things like it could be written on a napkin, like it's still legally binding if it's
It's still
acknowledged in
legally
email.
binding, and it helps to have somebody witness it. You don't, I mean, you don't have to go get it notarized, but you're sitting at a oh, we had a case that we had to testify in, the whole bar napkin thing. It wasn't actually a napkin, it was just a little notepad, but they were in a restaurant and they jotted down their things, and they had one of the wait staff witness it.
Mm.
And that was here in California. That was critical because the state laws are different. California is crazy, so it was perfect that he had the foresight to have the wait staff witness it.
Mhm.
But yeah, for the most part, Chrissy's right. It could be a very simple document. People just get overwhelmed and overthink it, and it's just, what do you need?
Yeah.
What do you need? What do you want them to do? How and when do you want them to do it? How much you're going to pay them? What happens if you guys need to end? And that's it.
Mhm.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Danielle, you had a question?
I did, and I forgot what it was.
Darn it.
Darn Kelly. No.
No.
No, I know that I initially had a question that you guys had already answered about the contractor versus employee. And I was looking at it totally wrong, because the way I was looking at it, like, okay, at what point do I transition the person that I hire from being a contractor to an employee? But you guys have answered that. I'm clear on how that works.
Well, I'm
It
curious.
was a follow-up to that. And I truly don't remember what it was. I'm sorry, I have a migraine I'm trying to work through. So that's part of the reason.
I get it.
But
I get it. My
It'll
ponytail's
I
way
can
too
just
tight.
DM or post it on Slack so that everyone can
I
benefit.
have a question though. Can you say it out loud? Like, at what point you decide to make an contractor an employee?
Are you asking me?
Mhm.
What's the question? No, her question was, or one of her questions, if I understood it correctly, was she was looking at it wrong. It sounded like you were saying you were looking at it as, okay, at some point I need to make this contractor my employee.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You don't ever have to make them your employee.
That's why I wanted her to make sure that I understood that she picked that up. That they could be a full-time contractor.
Yep.
Yes, I heard. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Coming into this, and through the discussion, you all answered that. But I did have a follow-up question. And I don't remember what it was.
Okay. Uchenna, Shannon, do you guys have any questions? And where are you both located, by the way, if you can share with the group?
I'm from Maine.
Yeah, I'm from Arkansas. I don't have anything that comes to mind. I guess I'm just mentally circling around the idea of, so basically I just started working with 2 contractors, and I kind of want to know, like, I started working with them because I needed time just taken off my hands. One, it was kind of difficult editing a podcast on myself, and then 2, I was at the last leg of finalizing my website, so I just went and got someone to work on it, and they're still working on it. But now I'm like, okay, was that the right investment? hearing Chryssy talk about how like some people are 3 years in and they kind of just spent their money in all the wrong places and they're not really measuring value. I kind of started wondering, like, at what point do we find out if we got value from what we contracted out?
That's a great question.
And like how long? Oh, yeah. And then, thank you. And then how long should that process take? Like, should it take longer than a year for you to discover that that decision you made, like, was valuable?
Angela, you want to take it or you want me to? Or we can both kind of chime in.
Yeah, we can tag team. First, and Chrissy's a little closer to this than I am. I'm at a macro level, even though I have staff. I fly above. I hover above Chris. Chrissy's where the rubber meets the road, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat. If that's a good enough analogy, where I can see everything. But I don't know if you were on when Chryssy mentioned one of my favorite things, slow to hire, fast to fire. And I'm sure, is it Ukena?
Yeah.
Is that what Ukena? Tell me this. At some point in the relationship, did you get a feeling that this wasn't quite right in terms
Absolutely.
of fit?
Yeah, like yesterday, the reason why I bring this up is because he's like halfway through the project for updating my website, and his draft that he sent me was like, okay, wait, I could have saved a ton of money and did this myself if I just took my time. Like, did I really need this to be done right now?
Right,
So, like,
but at what point? So are you so it's been 6 months? Did I hear that right?
6 months
How long
since
has
I
it?
started the website, but I just like
When did
started
you
working with him like 3
when
days
did
ago.
you pass it off to him?
Like 3 days ago.
Okay, so 3 days, and we're on day 3, and your gut is telling you what?
Basically, his 2 days of progress are really bad, and I feel like I could have maybe done better if I did it myself, even if it took like 2 months.
Well, don't get caught up in
And
woulda, coulda, shoulda. Don't get caught up in that. What do you get clear about what needs to happen now? So, 2 things. You can either, go ahead and let him go and just dedicate the time to get it done, or find someone else. I want Chryssy to chime in.
So I'm gonna answer the questions directly and then from experience chime in. So you asked, at what point do you see a return? And if you remember when I was talking about return on investment, it's not always dollars. Sometimes it's time saved. So you have to ask yourself, let me use myself as an example. I have a personal assistant, not because I want one or that I think is cool and cute. You may have seen her sitting behind me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's not because it's fun to have to hire someone to do simple things. It's because I literally do not have the time. And so the money that it costs to hire someone is less than not getting things done. It's less than not being able to do what I need to do or show up where I need to show up, etc. So return on investment, right? Like her particular job role as it is today makes me $0. But what it saves up here, what it saves in my personal world, right? Having even just her send out birthday cards, right? Like what it helps is priceless. And so I want to make sure, especially when you're in the new stages of business, which it sounds like you are. Well, I know that you are. If you're in the new stages of business, return on investment definitely needs to be dollars, because no one wants to keep doing the same thing over and over again and not getting compensation. No one, none of us would continue to do what we do right now if like mortgage is knocking on the door 3 months past due. At the end of the day, I get clients all the time come in and they say, oh, money's not you know, if it happens, it happens. You're lying to yourself. We all need money to sustain our lives. So unless you already have like a full-time job that takes care of all that, then maybe you're confused. I don't know. But usually if you're trying to make your business become the full-time thing, money is what makes the world go round. Right. So the reason why I say this is in a project specific, like a website, if this site is not going to make you money, which to be honest, websites usually don't, then it was the wrong investment. It's a learning lesson though, because everyone does it. So depending on what you invested, it may not have been a loss, right? Like also realistically, you have to please, this is for every single person on this call. You have to get out of the mindset that I can do it myself. Because if you could, you would. And so sometimes if you hire, what I hear, Uchenna, is more like take the time to find the right person rather than being impulsive and I want to get it done now. Take the time to find the right person to do it at the budget that you think is necessary at this time versus it was the wrong investment. If you would have taken the time, I'm not saying that you didn't, but taking a little bit more time, right? Because people, there are ways which we didn't even talk about. Guys, your contractors, test them. Your employees, test them, test projects, test assignments. You can get a glimpse into someone's work ethic by giving them different tests, different ways to fall out. For example, if you see someone on my screen that works for me, they've said cheeseburger in a proposal. Gabby said cheeseburger. In every single job description, it's long as shit. And I am purposely please put cheeseburger at the top of your cover letter. Because I'm looking for someone to pay attention to detail. Because that detail could have been like, notify my client that this, and you missed it. So I hear room for improvement for you as a leader, as an owner of a business, to do your own due diligence and make sure that you get what you pay for. It could also, and as a creative, you should also know, like, there's a piece, as a creative director, being able to communicate someone's vision to someone and actually have that person hit it, it's very difficult, right? So full transparency, Kelly, we're working on a web design project for her right now. Mohit is her web designer. It's very difficult. It is a specific skill that you have to have in order to take someone's vision from one person, come to your own kind of assessment, package it up and give it to another person to now birth. And then there's constant refinement and tweaking along the way. So understanding your expectations from a creative standpoint, there's so many websites you could have came up with. I don't know until if there's a level, I should say, if he sent you something that's just like, whoa, this is terrible, then he just sucks, right? Don't pay him anything and you have every right to do that because he didn't deliver what he said, especially if he showed you examples of work that is really, really good and that's what you were looking for. But if it's just like not what you would do, then you just need to communicate your vision a little bit better. Maybe he's not skilled at asking the right questions to make sure that he hits the nail on the head. This is a very, especially when it comes to hiring creatives, because I do it a lot. It's very, very different. There are different types of creatives. I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but it's very, very important you have an understanding of what it is you're actually looking for. Like I use this example all the time. You've probably heard me say this. You have like your sandwich artists, right? Your Subway folks type of designers. You're going to tell them, I want my website to have that pink button there, and I want this, and I want it to do that, and I want to do this. And you have gourmet chefs like myself who are going to listen to your needs, give you some input, some feedback. No, don't do that. That's going to taste really bad. Do not put olives and anchovies on a sandwich. Don't do that. Right? But they're going to come together with something that's like, wow, like explosions in my mouth, because you are not a creative. You are not, no offense to anyone here, you are not someone that's doing it, unless you are, right? Because you said that you are, and I'm not necessarily talking to you, I'm just more talking to generally speaking, because this is also recorded. Unless you are creative, do not try to let people kind of come to their own conclusion of what you're looking for, and then be open to the revision cycles and kind of going back and forth. Go ahead, Angela. I know I'm on my soapbox. This is like,
I mean, honestly, what you're saying applies to, it's not just creatives. There are business owners who sell ice cream, who we have I mean, people in general, and I think this is just a human nature situation. And I see what you mean about creatives. I think it is a little different with creatives. But the mindset is essentially the same. Just here, just here, do it. Help. And so many people get themselves in trouble because they don't take the time to understand what it is that they need, their business needs, and all of that. But think about it. How many of us women truly do self-care? Because in a way, that's self-care for your business. Taking the time to understand what it is that you're doing, and what it is that you need. I call that business self-care, right? So that's my 2 cents on that.
yeah. So did we answer your question? I know with that's
Chryssy got on her soapbox and
I got on there.
Went down the
However,
rabbit.
Danielle sent me a message. I never get off. I don't. Okay, because there's certain things that are important to me. Okay. I'm trying to listen. I try to give you guys the sauce. I really do. If you could just listen, I promise you.
If you could just listen.
If you
We
could
come back for a reason.
Okay, good.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, you should definitely answer my question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so if you want, feel free. Like this is a community where I know you're new. I think you're like a few days in. This is a community where like I literally want everyone to be like your own board of directors, right? You can come here and get tangible, constructive feedback. Send it in the feedback please room and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? Someone just sent me this. I will gladly be like, if this is something you should be appalled at, like how dare you? Because I've had that. Oh Lord Jesus, I've had that. Y'all, I work with lots of contractors. Lots. I've done a lot of hiring. And so if you want to send it in the group, we can take a look at it and just see if this was something. Also, I wanted to pinpoint on one last question of you said, I wrote it down because it was kind of a 2-part, but kind of somewhat the same. You said, how long before if you've got your return? Essentially was hinting at the idea for me, like, how do I know if I invested in the right thing? And then I'm in this waiting mode. So if you're just starting your business and you have not done any sales, or sales sounds confusing to you, or are you confusing sales with marketing, which website falls under marketing, by the way. If you're not doing any sales, networking, any kind of lead generation way to attract people to you, you are investing in the wrong thing. Also, keep in mind, if you are in the first 0 to 3 years, in my experience, 0 to 3 years of actually working in your business, you will rebrand. Kolor Addikt, as you see it today, is not the same when I first started. Did I do what I said I was going to do? I'm on podcasts, guys, and I say this all the time, and I found one of my old business cards, and I told myself I was going to put it in my drawer so I could show it. Kolor Addikt is nothing like it used to be. But I'm going to pause for any more questions, and I'm going to see if I can find my business card so you guys can see how atrocious it was. It was not good.
It's different from when you and I connected.
Yeah, it is different. So I rebranded twice.
Has it been? Well, I guess so.
Well, my initial rebrand, actually, technically, y'all, and I'm sure this is for everyone, right? Everyone has a logo that they're like, right now I'm pretty solid though. I actually love my brand. And
I've rebranded 3 times.
You've rebranded 3? Yeah.
Well,
Gabby's rebranded 3 since you've been in the group. No, I'm just kidding. I know you're twice in the group.
I need it. Yeah, I came to you with a crappy logo, and I've yet to get to it. Mm-hmm. Only because I'm getting ready to merge things.
Because you're busy doing the work. You're busy doing the work, and that's my point for you, Chenna, is that when you have work, And the work as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, is to provide a product or service. And the only way to provide that product or service is to do sales and connect with people and as much people as you can humanly be possible in the beginning stages.
Yeah.
People will not just randomly find you on the internet and purchase stuff from you. It just doesn't, you would be surprised how many people really think that. The call I had today.
Yep.
He's like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
what are you doing for sales?
I'm just gonna put my website up. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
got
gonna
my website.
put my website up.
Nobody's,
You know,
y'all, do y'all know how many people come to me and say, hey, I have my website, it's brand new. Nobody's coming to it. I'm like, how are you want to know about it? And I don't mean to laugh, but it's just like, what, there is a lot of misinformation about how websites work and how the internet works, generally speaking. And I don't really hear a lot of people talking about this. You know, if you know, you know, but a lot of people don't. People will literally come to me and like, I need a new website. Nothing's working. You don't need a website. You need to drive people.
sales. My problem is I'm a closer. That's my problem. That's my
Yeah,
problem.
mine too. People want to work with me despite
Yeah.
like me pushing them away.
Yep, I just brought somebody else on, and I'm like, oh, why did I do that?
Yeah.
But
Just,
you know,
yeah. So if you guys have any other questions, Shannon, did you have any questions? I know Danielle, yours was gone, but maybe it came back.
No, not necessarily. I don't have any questions. I think you guys represented it very well.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed your guys' energy. So
Yeah, well, we're definitely a great combo. We have very long calls, Angela and I. We're like practically the same person. It's very weird.
it is freaky.
I ask a question. So you mentioned earlier the employment agreement.
Mm-hmm.
How does the employment agreement differ from a non-disclosure and confidentiality that you may have them sign? Is it all wrapped up into that? Okay. Because I everyone I work with, they sign an NDA, but I'm like, oh, employment agreement. Let me Google that.
Well, here's the
Missed that
thing.
one.
So here's the thing. They're three separate things that can be their own document.
Okay.
But three separate things can fit into one document. Does that make sense?
Complete.
So what matters is not that it's a page or two long. What matters is it covers what really matters to you and your business.
Got it.
That's what matters. So, you know, you can have an NDA clause.
Mm-hmm.
That could be two sentences. I
Right.
mean, if two sentences covers what you need to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Confidentiality. Some people get confidentiality and NDA confused, but those are different. Confidentiality is as long as you're employed by me. NDA is once you leave.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's also why I recommend that you have both in your agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And again, employment agreement, work agreement, client agreement, it's this, they all have the same components.
Okay.
And you can put an NDA and an NDA and a confidentiality agreement in a client agreement.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Give me 1 second, guys. My client for an hour is in the waiting room, so I need to kick him out. Gabby, can you do me a favor? Can you text him and tell him we don't meet for an hour, please? Please, please, please.
Gabby's
Neuro?
scared me.
Oh, her dog.
Oh my God, who is that?
It's Leo.
Leo. Hey,
He likes
Leo.
to FaceTime. He knows what FaceTime is. So when he sees calls, sometimes he likes to be on camera.
That is so sweet.
So cute.
I don't know where Bandit is.
Leo.
He's probably laying out somewhere, living life.
No? Okay.
Where's
No.
Bandit?
That was actually a perfect pause because I got it, Gabby. I'm good.
Guys.
Is Bandit in here?
So I did find them, guys, just to give you like proof in the pudding, and it's actually quite entertaining. So when Kolor Addikt first started, I should say, did everything, you name it. And so my first like card was this. Look how terrible this
Oh,
is.
yeah, I remember you showing me that.
Yeah, it's real bad. Let me try to make it focus. Let's see. Focus. You see that? Who does all that? I was just good at stuff. And I was like, you want to pay me for stuff? And I painted the back. I thought I was doing something, y'all. Then because I did so much, right? This is like how I got into brand strategy, because I was like, well, you're doing way too much. As I started doing so much and getting into logo design, this is back where I believe that logos needed to represent something with the brand. So I put these lips on here. This is not me. Like, Kelly, don't laugh. I see that laugh. And look, there's nothing on the back. So these were not cards. I still have both boxes of these, by the way. I've never passed these out.
My logo used to be a ring that I didn't even sell. So like,
exactly. I just don't. And then this is when I started rebranding as kind of like a brand strategist. More importantly, graphic designer. I got more into digital design. So it has my title on the back, all that fun stuff. And then look at now, right? Patch just banged these out for me. Much different, much more concrete. It has what we do, has a QR code, super fun, really nice quality too. So like your brand will change over time. I say in the first like 0 to 3 years, don't invest a whole lot. You know, I am quick to refer people to Fiverr. Go ahead, go get your $5 logo. Then when you're ready.
Him? Quick pause. Did you text him?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
He said he was just testing his phone. He was good.
Delete.
Yeah. But once your business has grown to a point where like now it's time to look how you feel, then let's make your brand match. A lot of times people don't look the part, excuse me, they don't look how impactful, let's say, they are.
Like me.
Yeah, I was gonna do that, but then I was like, I don't want to say that because it's kind of shade. But like Angela, for example, when she first came to me, her presence online was like a very like static.
It was non-existent.
Yeah, but even just the website in itself, and then what that dude was creating for you, it was just such a misalignment,
Yeah.
And now she's got better branded photos than me. I need a photographer.
But even UBS, I mean,
yeah.
We don't,
exactly.
we only have a website so people can pay. Like there's like, yeah. So I'm working on that. But yeah. Meanwhile, we're busting things out. And even as a coach, I mean, I've been doing this for almost 20 years and head down doing the work without a website. I mean, when I got on IG, 2 years ago, maybe? I think around when, my dog Bandit had more followers than me.
I remember.
Yep. Mr. Personality. Yep. Yeah. Build the business first.
It'll save a lot of money and time. You might find like, I actually don't like doing this.
I pay somebody. I don't. I mean, yeah, that's me on IG, but Portia's doing it. We meet. I say it's tax time, and she's like, okay, and handles it. So I'm thankful for that. But yeah, work on your business first.
Any other questions, ladies? You got great people here to answer any questions you have. Any questions that come up? Even if you think of something after, feel free to throw it in Slack.
Is Bandit in here?
I'm getting a headache too, Danielle. It's this tight ponytail.
Mine has actually
followed your
gone.
dog.
So
Yours is what?
mine has gone away.
Oh, yay.
Ooh,
Wow.
because they answered all of your questions.
I know, right? The ones I forgot to ask. You're right.
Maybe you pass it to me.
No, just right, I'm sitting here has helped me de-stress and decompress. So
Good. I find honestly, and I recommend all of you, especially as women, to build your tribe. You know, even outside of Boss Bitch, like I have several tribes, right? I'm a part of several groups. Like one person just recently, just meeting me, was like, "Do you have like I get the impression that this person thinks like I have like a million like cliques I'm a part of, but it's just really like communities. Like I'm all about. I understand that in
That's
these
probably
moments
that
like this, we kind of
Capricorn.
recharge, you know, in moments like this where we're able to be around like-minded people, be understood, right? We don't have to sit up here and say, girl, trust me, you don't even understand. We understand, you
Yep.
know. I understand what Angela's going through. Angela
Yep.
understands what I'm going through, you know.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
something to be said about, you know, having these groups, these tribes, these
I got
communities.
yeah, I got to find more tribes. I just have you guys. Everybody seems to think, just like what you said, that I know I belong to all these cliques. I know everybody. I know everything, and I don't.
Mhm.
And it's hard to go to people. I know you, Chryssy, you've heard me talk about this. I have a great inner circle, but I can't talk about these things to them because
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know they're trying to put in their vacation time. You know, I don't have vacation time, right? Um, I don't have PTO,
Yeah. The
and
funniest thing is when things are happening, sorry to cut you off, but things are happening and you tell someone and then they're like, you need a vacation. I'd be like,
want to hit them in their throat.
that's the exact opposite of what I need right
I
now.
want to cut them to the white meat.
I'm gonna come
Watch
back
them
to even
bleed
more
out while I
madness.
sip a cocktail slowly. But yeah, it's just it's a different space mentally and in your mindset. And I can't just be, and even to an extent, new business owners, it's different.
Mhm.
um you know yeah, it's just different. So I'm trying to find a more local tribe
Mhm.
here that I can bounce ideas off of and whatnot. But
Yeah.
yep, find your tribe, ladies, find your tribe.
Which that leads me to my final some quick updates about the group, and then of course we'll let you guys drop and we'll get into the group coaching session. So one of the things that I've been toying around with is peer matchups, but then also like mentorship opportunities. Is that something you guys would be interested in? Meaning like you would have someone maybe in rotation that's exactly where you are. So if you don't know, I have that build, grow, thrive model. We're working on the self-assessment where we'll be able to categorize people, but you would be matched with another builder, but also matched with a grower as well, to kind of have like that one person that you can kind of call when things go haywire. This helped me tremendously when I was kind of growing, to just have someone who was right here with me that I could just be like, girl, but then also someone to ask those really hard questions to as well. So is that something that you guys would find interesting?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Danielle?
I would be interested in that, but I feel like I have reached out to a couple organizations for mentorship, but they never really have anyone that's done exactly what I'm doing. So
I'm curious who you reached out to, if you don't mind sharing, just because I recommend platforms all the time for people, and I just want to make sure that I always ask for feedback, because I hate giving resources that are not useful. So I'm curious who you reached out to, if you care to share.
yeah, there's score.org. I have
Yeah.
a score mentor. It's been a while since I reached out to them though. And then I was a part of this accelerator program a couple months ago, and I had mentors for that, but they weren't in my field really.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of like complicated things.
Have you tried your local chamber?
I haven't actually, so I'll look into that.
Yeah, try your local chamber of commerce. And usually they have great resources. They are usually a really well kept secret.
Yeah.
Okay.
SBDC is actually really good as well.
Yep.
Small Business Development Center.
Yeah.
But I hear that. I had the same experience, just so you know, of like trying to find mentors in my industry. And the one that I did find, he worked at an agency and wasn't very helpful. To be fair, in these type of situations when you're getting like mentorship, especially with SCORE, I've had 3 SCORE mentors in the past. They tend to, this is like a donation to them. And so the amount of effort that you put into something, like I said in the beginning, when you're not being kind of compensated, and if you don't have a good heart, like a good intentions as to why you're doing it, not to say they have bad intentions because they're still volunteering. They kind of just treat you like a number. That's probably the experience that you're feeling, is like very general advice, homework that makes no sense. So yeah, I had that same experience. Part of the reason why I also built this group, because people are groomed. Like when, especially my starting members, none of them are here right now, but like the pilot ones who were in it since day one, there used to be an application process that we reject you and kick you out the group. So like there is a certain mindset that has to be present. Culture, again, a certain mindset that has to be present in order for you to thrive. And a lot of mentors just don't have it. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who, because they have successful business, they don't have today's successful business. They have what worked for them before. And the honest to God truth is, once you figure it out, you figured it out. You know, whether it's online, offline, doesn't matter. Once you figured it out, you figured it out. So those people don't need to worry about social media. Those people don't need to worry about how to build an audience. They're so far removed from it that their investment up prior to this point is compounding. That's why I push people to do sales. That's why I asked the question today. By the way, please give me answers. In general, I asked the question today. There's a reason why I push you guys to do sales, is because at some point you don't have to do it like you used to, because those people will slowly start going out and being champions and just spreading the word. You're essentially building your own sales team, because I know each of you are value and impact driven. You'll do good work and people like to refer good work. So I feel that though. Free mentorship is a hit or miss, but just keep trying. Also, just be like this, give them that feedback too. I joined my local SCORE's board of directors because I had such a crappy mentor. And they were like, we appreciate your feedback. And they were like, oh, you're young, you're Black, and you're this and you're that. And I just was like so riveting to them, because I was like, y'all suck. And I'm really trying to make this work online. Like I was a full-time entrepreneur at that point. I was not part-timing it. And the shit was real. And to play with that, right? To not treat me with the amount of urgency that I felt like I needed at that moment. It was like, oh, who do y'all think y'all are? But it's cool, you know, just keep trying. It's essentially what I'm saying. They have some duds in the bucket for sure, especially at SCORE. But SCORE, I like SCORE because they will meet with you as often as you like. Most mentors have some type of like, all right, this is all you get. This is all I'm willing to give you. I find that SCORE, you can have multiple. You just put them in your pocket.
We volunteer with SCORE a lot, my dad and I. And out here, at least, in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, to be fair with SCORE, Chryssy's right. It just depends on the, who you get connected with, and to just keep trying and don't drag it out if you're not getting what you need, because like she said with SCORE, you can just keep one of the mentees that I had about 4 or 5 years ago, bawling now, but she had been through 7 before she got to me, because she just kept saying, no, I don't know if this is it, but I know what is not. So next. And she just kept, and sometimes you have to rely on that. It's okay to not know, but you damn well better know what you don't want, right? So sometimes you have to operate in that space. I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want. And I know what I don't know what I need, but I know what I don't need. And some, you may have to operate in that space for a minute, but just keep trying with SCORE. yeah, just keep trying. You'll find. And then the other thing I was gonna say about SCORE is, I think in general, because we just got their quarterly report. When you volunteer with them, or you're on the board, so you probably know, Chryssy, they do, at least out here, they do these reports, and one just recently came out, and it could just be because it's the pandemic, but 78% of the mentees were brand new.
Mm.
Brand new. So a lot of the mentors were like, so, so that happens too, but just keep trying.
Yeah. And if you hear, if you take anything away from what Angela just said, it's so similar to what we've been talking about this whole time, which is hiring. If somebody doesn't work out, one, know what you're looking for. Two, if they don't work out, be willing to snip that, write it on out, because you and the success of your brand and your business is all that matters.
All right, thank you.
Welcome. Well, ladies, that concludes our, I like this, like Angela and I tag teaming. It's fun. Like, bow, 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 bow. Danielle, still haven't thought about your
We're gonna
question?
terminate that.
I know it was a good one. That's why I keep picking on you.
I know that's fine, but we're not going to do that anymore. I'm over them. So terminate the agreement.
I just like terminate the agreement. I muted her so she doesn't say anything on the recording. Any other questions, ladies, while we're still here and Angela's handling that?
No, I don't have any questions, but I will definitely reach out if I do. Yeah, I'll be following up with Angela about the other thing. But no lingering questions from this presentation. It's very, very helpful, as always.
Beautiful. Well, ladies, if you guys don't have any else, you are free to go.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chryssy.
Thank you. This is super helpful.
Yeah, no problem. That's what we're here for.
Don't y'all on Slack.
Yeah, we'll be in Slack.
All right.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye. Stop this
Gabby.
recording.